Hi everyone, my name is Nick, and it's time for my houseplant tour for summer 2020. If you watched my last houseplant tour, which I think I did back in the winter time, I've definitely refined my collection a little bit, let's say. I've gotten rid of quite a few plants. I think currently we're right around 375 plants in my home, which is still a lot, mind you, but it's just not as overwhelming as it used to be, and I think it looks a little bit more curated, let's say. So hopefully it looks a little bit better in here than it did last time. But I do skip over a couple of them, of course. 375 plants is a lot to go over, but I don't think I'm lying at all if I say you're going to see well over 300 plants specifically in this video. Keeping in mind, I do have a bunch of duplicate plants in my home because if I really like a plant, I get a couple of them. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start off today's houseplant tour in my bedroom, which is where I think I keep some of my most interesting houseplants. And my bedroom is actually really small. It's only 8 feet by 8 feet. And I think I'm able to keep so many plants in here because of these two shelves right here, which are from IKEA. And I just have them fixed with some grow lights, which allows me to grow so many plants in such a small space. So let's start at the tippy top. So this hanging off the side here is a Philodendron Brazil, and then directly next to that is a ZZ Raven, or the black-leaved ZZ plant. And then here is an Epiperonum aureum Pearls and Jade, or the Pearls and Jade pothos. And then a Philodendron Hederaceum micans right here, the velvet leaf philodendron that's kind of a little ratty. I've had it for a pretty long time, could use a good cleanup. And then behind that is a Sansevieria Jaboa. I think it could use some attention as well. It's hiding, I don't think about it that often. This one trailing about is a Philodendron Mayoi. And then directly next to that is a Hoya australis. This hanging plant right here is an Aschenanthus variegata, variegated Aschenanthus radicans, or lipstick plant right here. Also a little ratty. I've had it for quite some time, but does have some really nice new growth on it. It's a very good cascading plant. And then a Ceropegia woodii right here, or a string of hearts. This is a Monstera siltepecana. It's kind of just vining about. And an Hoya ruby cascade, or I'm sorry, a Peperomia ruby cascade right here. Getting a little chlorotic because it's a little close to the light, but it goes all the way down to the floor. And then the plant right behind both of those is a Philodendron Bernardo Pazii. Sorry, I can't get a better angle of it, but you can see it's got some nice spadix-shaped leaves. And then moving down, this is an Anthurium veitchii. So you can see it gets these nice ribbed leaves right here. There's a rather new leaf on the plant here. Or they call that the King Anthurium. Then this is a Peperomia dolstedtii. A lot of my plants really hide behind others, as you can see. They really get comfortable with each other. This is a Maranta silver band, really beautiful plant, and an Aglaonema. I think that's the ruby variety. There's so many different names for these. Some people call it wishes, a bunch of different names, but a really stunning pink or red Aglaonema. And then literally completely hidden by this Aschenanthus radicans is a Hoya croniana Eskimo. And then there is a Peperomia persiliata right here. And the plant that's kind of covering up both of these is a Philodendron tripartitum, which is coming out of that pot back there. But it's got some nice tripart leaves. And then there is a Discidia imbricata, as well as a Hoya rotundiflora. Gotta kind of move some of these plants so you can see. So the one directly to the left of that Philodendron tripartitum back there, which looks very similar, is a Philodendron domesticum. And then there's a Hoya sunrise. This is a Philodendron white princess. My apologies, I think some of the leaves are hitting the microphone as I go through. There is a Begonia erythrophila, really, really hiding back there. Let's move back out. So over on this side of the shelf, there is a Hoya multiflora, or the shooting stars Hoya right here. It's got a nice bud on it. This one leaf is kind of broken, which makes it look a little ratty, but a Hoya retusa. It's got a really nice long vine. And a Hoya carnosa compacta. This is Hoya David Camingii. And a Hoya elagiorum. Don't know if that's going to focus, but it's a nice little veiny Hoya. There's a Discidia rucifolia back there that I am nursing back to health. If you watched my plants I am killing video, I think it's doing a lot better than it was back then. And then a Hoya obscura. And this is a Peperomia fuzzy mystery. The stuff coming out of the top of the pot looks very sad, but if I move this Hoya David Camingii and this Hoya elagiorum, you can see there's some really nice foliage hiding down here of this very fuzzy, dark-leaved peperomia. It's quite nice. So let's move down to the second level. This is a begonia conchifolia, and this is variety rubermacula. It's a very nice imposter plant to the Pilea peperomioides. And then directly behind that, let's just move over so you can see from this angle, is a Philodendron radiatum. This is a Hoya linearis. This plant always has mealybug on it, like always, always. I don't think I'm ever going to get rid of it, but you can see some nice new growth right here. And a Hoya Camingiana. I have a lot of Hoyas in my home, if I did not say that already, and if it's not clear as day. This is a Peperomia viridis variegata. It's got some really nice foliage back here, but it's just so hard to see because there's just so much going on. And then in that glass enclosure back there, also a little difficult to see, is a Piper parmatum. And I have another Piper right here. This is a Piper ornatum, or Piper crocatum, sometimes it's called. Still have to do some research to find out the exact taxonomy on this particular plant right here. And another Peperomia ruby cascade. I really like these. That is an Aglaonema tricolor echo. And then I believe this is Peperomia blonda. Some nice red underside. Here's another Hoya. Let me turn it so you can see a little better. This is a Hoya ficii. And then a Calathea macoiana. Then this right here is a Hoya vicinioides. And then a Begonia melanobulata. Really funky plant. Got some really interesting topography on the leaves. And hiding back behind that, it's really difficult to see, is just a little cutting that I'm growing out from Philodendron domesticum. And this is a Peperomia incana, a really lovely felted peperomia, one of my favorite plants. And hiding behind it is a Calathea mosaica, really hiding back there. And then there's also a Calathea orbifolia hiding behind that as well. And this is a Hoya kaoyai. And another Hoya right here. This is Hoya coronaria. But I love this because I think it's like, looks just like this Peperomia incana, which is why, and they feel exactly the same. Like they really do feel exactly the same. So that's why I have them growing right here, right next to each other, because they just are like brothers and sisters, but they're from a really far away mother. And moving down, this is kind of like my shame corner. There's a dying Hoya didera over there, as well as a Hoya or Calathea rotundifolia or fasciata. I can't remember the exact name, that is on the fritz, but I'm still hanging on to them. But you know, my heart isn't in them at this point. There's a Ripsalis right here. Forget the exact name. I'll put it on screen. And then a Hoya crassipes. Sorry, I'm really in a corner here. Hoya crassipes on the right. And then on the left is a Hoya curtisii. Alrighty, so let's move over here. In the Buddha pot is a maidenhair fern and adiantum. I forget the exact species on this one, but it's a little bit more of a like wiry adiantum, a little bit more hardy than the standard adiantum fragrans, which you'll see in a couple minutes. But this is a Hoya Wietii, really lovely, almost fake-looking Hoya. It's really lovely. And another Hoya right here, Hoya carnosa crimson queen. There's two plants. Once again, this bottom shelf is kind of something that is, you know, the good plants are in the front, and then my shame is kind of in the back. But there's just a Amaranta leucanura kirchoviana that's coming back to life. They kind of die back every year or so, and then they regrow. So I just hang on to them and kind of move them to the back. And then there's just a cutting of an Epipronum pineatum Cebu blue or a Cebu blue pothos, because it kind of wandered into another one of my plants. So I just kind of cut it, and then now I'm growing it by itself. And a Hoya crinkle 8, Hoya carnosa crinkle 8 back there. Probably should give it a little bit more light from the look of that yellow on that leaf. And in this enclosure right here is a Peperomia turboensis. It's definitely going to be hard to see, but it's a really lovely silver and black leafed Peperomia. Really hard to see, but there's a lot going on in there. And an Alocasia reginula black velvet. And then a Pilea grandifolia. And then just hiding back there is an Adiantum fragrans, or a standard maidenhair firm that is on the market that is just quite fine and really hard to grow if you forget about it. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm getting so shaky holding the camera for nearly 10 minutes already. Okay, so this is a cast iron plant, or an Aspidistra. This one's on the market as Aspidistra eladiaire, or I'm sorry, Aspidistra Milky Way, but I'm not positive if that is the exact name for this plant. And then moving over to the window, there's so much going on. So all the way on the left here is a Philodendron Ataba poense. And then this is a Peperomia rubella. And this is Peperomia napoleonites. And a Peperomia tetragona. And then this big plant right here before we move on is a Monstera deliciosa. And then there's another Monstera right here. This is Monstera Stanleyana variegata. Doing pretty well for me. And a Philodendron gloriosum. This one's also doing pretty well for me. Had this one for a couple of years. And another Hoya obscura back there that is just growing up a little bamboo hoop. Inside the window is a Peperomia verticillata that's really traveled quite a bit. You might have saw it kind of hanging out next to my Hoya Kaoyai over here because it's really worked its way around. But a very great Peperomia for really bright light. And a Ficus altissima. There's a Hoya australis lisa hiding back there, very much hiding. And as well as an asparagus fern, or asparagus cetaceous, really hiding. There's so many things hiding in my house. There's going to be a theme of hidden plants. This is a Phlebodium aureum, or a blue star fern, very hardy fern. And a Peperomia polybatria back here, which is just a light lover and can really soak up the light in the south-facing window. It's quite lovely. The flowers on this plant smell horrible, though. They smell like BO. I can't stand them, so I should cut them off now that I'm noticing they're on the plant. And this is a Cissus, Cissus rhombifolia. And then inside the window, this is a Pseudorhipsalis remulosa. And there's also a real Rhipsalis, Rhipsalis paradoxa. And a Dischidia or Dischidia ovata. A little difficult to see, I think, but I just step up on my bed. So this is a Peperomia hope. And then I do have a Tetrastigma back here, Voinerianum. This is a small cutting that isn't doing too hot anymore. I think it's might be going dormant or something. I'm not too familiar with them yet. It's only been a year or two. This is an Aeschylanthus everardii. Hasn't been doing that hot for me, but it hasn't been doing that bad either, so I can't really complain. And a Peperomia cubensis. Let's get you some better light there. Really wild Peperomia. And then this is a kangaroo paw fern. And then I also just have this Dracaena Janet Craig hiding back here. It's just behind my television. And I don't think this is doing too hot either, but this is a Dischidia, I think it's albida, but I think I need to pay a little bit more mind. I honestly totally forgot I had it until this moment. Okay, so that's going to about do it for my bedroom. You can see here, if I step back, I have the shelf here pretty full, flush at the moment. So yeah, let's move on to the bathroom. Moving into the bathroom, I really didn't feel like cleaning beforehand, so don't judge me. But there is a Rhipsalis in this pot right here, and a Syndapsis pictus exotica, which could really use a good drink at this point. You can see some of the leaves up here starting to curl. I would say the bathroom is where I pay the least amount of mind to my plants, so don't judge me, please. This is a Peperomia moonset. And there's some type of footed fern growing inside this glass here. It's just starting to kind of start to creep around. And a Sansevieria fernwood, Philodendron brantianum, Sansevieria. I think this is black gold. And this is a Dracaena reflexa. I think that one of the variegated varieties definitely could use a good watering and a good dusting. There is a Dischidia Eliantha variegata on a plaque right here. And then a Hoya bella in the window back there, as well as a Pilea peperomioides. And there's also another Philodendron branchianum up here, just hanging around. Got two of them right in the same window. It's kind of like blasphemy, but you know, I'm just going with it. And then a Cebu blue pothos up in this basket right here. And a pothos that really needs a good drink as well. Like I said, I definitely pay the least amount of mind to the plants in my bathroom, as well as the SANSEVIERIA TRIFASCIATA right here, which does fantastic. I've had this one for a number of years, and I'm shocked it's still doing so well because I honestly pay like no mind to it at all. Okay, moving down the hallway, we have a muffin for first appearance in this video. Ooh, we spooked her. Hey, sweets. Hey, sweets. Okay, so we are in the kitchen right here. And it's, I think, a little bit less going on, I would say, than last time, but I think it's a little bit more refined. Let's put it that way. So on top of the refrigerator, there is a ZZ plant, a Zamioculcas zamiifolia. And then I have the species AGLAONEMA commutatum. And then this is AGLAONEMA commutatum Silver Bay, probably the most readily available cultivars. This is a Ripsalis flaccasa, and a Philodendron lemon lime, and another Cebu blue pothos, or Epiperonum pinnatum Cebu blue. Then let's move on down right next to the sink. This is a Peperomia verticillata. Once again, this one was sold to me as a cultivar called Belly Buttons, and it has a little bit rounder leaves and with a little bit more venation. I'm not positive, you know, if they're completely different, but just want to point that out. Then there is a type of Peperomia viridis right here with some nice bright yellow variegation. Peperomia clusiifolia red margin. A little shiny, a little too shiny. And a Sansevieria Honii back there. Sansevieria trifasciata Honii, I'm pretty sure. And then over on the counter here, let me just move this pot. There is a Kalanchoe Blossfeldiana right here. This one actually belongs to my roommate, one of the couple of plants in the home that belong to her. And then a Ficus elastica Burgundy. Then this is a Primulina sinensis. Really striking plant. Really, really beautiful. Another Primulina right here. I grow all my Primulinas right here. This is Primulina hotai. More blue plant. Kind of green, like, you know, bluish green. And then a Primulina youngfuensis right here, this one says frosted jade Asian violet. So these are all called Asian violets. And I think they're really cool. They're very closely related to African violets. You can see the bloom on one right here. It's quite nice, but I think I'm a little bit more about the foliage. So I just really like the way that the three of these look right here. Sorry, I keep noticing the camera keeps getting blurry, which is kind of frustrating. But then I have this Peperomia kimnachii, and a Sansevieria masoniana, or the whalefin Sansevieria. And there's another baby growing up behind the plant here too, but I'm not going to bother turning it, or I'm just going to mess things up. Inside this, whatever doodad right here, there is a Peperomia hoffmanii, and then this is a Hoya lacunosa. Really easy Hoya. Philodendron bipennifolium. And then there's a Peperomia argyria, or the watermelon peperomia, as well as just your standard Philodendron scandens right here. It just kind of goes all around the window. Before we move on, I just want to point out that I have a Phalaenopsis orchid up on the wall here. And then let's move into this window right here. So this is my succulent and cacti window. So this is where I grow the entirety of all of the succulents and cacti in my home. So starting at the bottom, let's see. Okay, so this is a Hoya carrii, and then there is a Kalanchoe tomentosa right here, or the panda plant. And then moving down, there's Mother of Thousands Kalanchoe here on the left, as well as another little panda plant right here, the Kalanchoe tomentosa. Cryptanthus, Bivitatis pink star, and then there is a Xerosicuus dengai hiding behind this plant that's getting in our way right here. That's the silver dollar vine. And then down there, you can see the little bulb has this little thingies coming off of it, these little UFO leaves coming out, lily pad things. This is a Stephania erecta. And then there is a Peperomia that's a Dolibriformis right here. And then there's also the little Peperomia columella right here. This was a gift from my friend Linda, and I absolutely love this plant. It's been doing so well for me. And an Adromiscus cristatus. This is another type of Kalanchoe right here. This one's called Mother of Millions, or sometimes they call it chandelier plant. And then this is a Lespismium cruciform, which once again kind of grows all over the place. And then this wacky plant that looks a little similar to the Lespismium is a pickle plant. So I actually really enjoy the way I just kind of have the pickle plant and the Lespismium just like medusing out over this window right here. It's quite lovely. And then Ripsalis pentaptera. And this is a little cactus right here, which is actually the same as this cactus right here, which I believe they call red-headed Irishwoman, but it's a type of Sirius cactus. And then this is another similar one, which is the blue cactus. I forget the name, but once again, I'll put it on screen for you guys. And then Peperomia graveolens back here. Sometimes they call it Peperomia ruby glow. This is a type of Stapelia right here. The man who gave it to me told me it was a rather rare one, but you know, we'll sing about that when it flowers. And then another type of Kalanchoe right here. That's a really standard Kalanchoe that's usually used in landscaping. Forget the name of it. And then there's a little pot in here of a Haworthia zebrina. Then there's a Haworthia. What's this one? I think it's Acanthosirius tetragonus. So it's the fairy castle cactus. And then we have just your standard jade plant or your Crassula ovata, and this is the Minima variety. Moving up, there is a Tillandsia tectorum. And then this is another type of Kalanchoe, but it's a trailing Kalanchoe. Let's get it from this angle. So it's Kalanchoe uniflora, really lovely. And this is a Ceropegia woodii variegata, or the variegated string of hearts. And it has some really lovely vines. Well, one vine in particular that is all white, which is doing really well. You know, normally you don't want this, but it's got a couple splotches of green here and there, so it seems like it's been chugging along. But you might notice I keep cutting back the plant, but I've been very hesitant to cut this one vine right here, so I'm just letting it do its thing, I guess. But I like to keep my plants a little bit more manicured than that. But this is a string of pearls, or a Senecio rallianus. I think now it's Curio rallianus, or rallianus. Sounds less offensive. This is Discidia. Oh god, I can't remember the name of it. I'll put it on screen, but it's some type of Discidia that's a little bit more hard to find. And another Hoya lacunosa right here. I keep them right next to each other. I don't know why I do that, but I do. And another Hoya Wayedii in this ceramic pocket up there. Definitely a little hard to see. I apologize. So in this hanging basket is a very dark looking epiphyllum. I think it's just the way it's going to be. It's an epiphyllum. I forget exactly, or maybe it's a Slenacerius, but they call it the rickrack cactus. Wow, I'd love to be able to, you know, get some good footage of that, but I just think that's a little far-fetched at this point. And then a Senecio. This is Senecio macroglossus variegatus, or variegated wax ivy, which is another one of my favorite houseplants. Really wily and crazy. And oh my gosh, I'm really just blowing it on the footage right now. I apologize, guys. But you can see a nice shot of this Senecio right here. Then right above it is a Ripsalis. I think this is some type of Ripsalis spicifera. I'm not too sure. And then another Ripsalis right here. This is Ripsalis pilocarpa, which I think sometimes they call the mistletoe cactus. And then I do have two more Ripsalis right here. I forget the name of this one. It might be a type of Ripsalis spicifera. Not positive. And then this is a Ripsalis ewaldiana. And then before we go to the shelf, I want to turn around real quick because I have a mount wall right here. So it's my wall that's just blurry. It's my wall that's just covered in plant mounts. So let's go over this before I forget. So this right here is a Tillandsia mount. I'm pretty sure one of them is dying, which is that Tillandsia harrisii right here. So pardon me with that. But there's this Tillandsia ionantha right here, which is doing pretty hot. And then another Phalaenopsis orchid up here. So over on the wall, I have this Discidia oeantha. Then this is a Hoya serpens, and you can see it's got some nice new growth coming in, so I'm excited about that. But rather small, dainty leaved Hoya, rather nice. This is another Discidia imbricata, and then a Hoya mathai. Here's a Platycerium bifurcatum, or a staghorn fern. I'm sorry, I can't get any further back because I'm literally just like backed into a wall here. Platycerium bifurcatum, or a staghorn fern. This is a Splenium nidus, or a crispy wave fern. There is a Ripsalis paradoxa up there, as well as a crocodile fern right here. So let's just get out of this mess while we can. So up on this shelf here, this is a Hoya carnosa crimson princess all the way on the left. And then there's an Aeschynanthus longicalis, or the black pagoda lipstick plant. Then there is a pothos, or an Epiperonum aureum, which is actually another one of my roommate's plant, and this goes all the way down to the floor, so it's been doing really well. And then if we work our way back up, there is an Epiperonum aureum neon, I guess they call it, which is just the neon pothos. And then another pothos, the Cebu blue pothos, but this one's Epiperonum pinnatum, so similar but different. And then I actually have this just glass, you can see right here, it's a maple syrup bottle just full of cuttings. So I have more Cebu blue pothos, and I have some lemon lime philodendron, as well as some Syndapsis pictus silvery Ann. But then directly next to that, I have a pot of Syndapsis pictus, as well as another Hoya. So we're bookending it with some Hoyas. This one is a Hoya Shepherdii, but just to give you guys a look at that shelf again, I really do enjoy all the colors going on myself. So moving down to my neglect corner, don't judge me, there is, this is a Ficus elastica that really isn't doing too bad, but it was just reaching out too far. You can see we don't have that much space here. It was just reaching out a little too far. So I recently just turned it, and now it's just really pressing up against the wall, and just doesn't look too hot right now because of that, but that's okay. It's about, about later in life and how it's going to look. This is a Rhaphidophora decursiva. It's doing fine, just could use probably a little bit more attention. And then Epiphyllum hookeri back here. Once again, it's kind of my shame corner, I'm not going to lie. Philodendron redback, Philodendron hostatum, as well as a Aglaonema commutatum. I don't know the variety of this guy, but I can guarantee you it's Aglaonema commutatum. And then a Philodendron erubescens red emerald, which is growing all the way down from the floor. And I really could get this guy a moss pole because it's just like toppled over into this mess right here, which I don't mind because it's kind of covering up my shame, you know what I mean? So it's doing me a favor, you know what I mean? This is a Philodendron Florida, question mark. And then a Cissus rotundifolia. Let's start from the top in this window because this is a pretty hefty window. Actually, let me just move back so you guys can get kind of a view of this window. There's a lot going on, so we best start at the top. Okay, so I showed you the cissus. So this is a Tradescantia nanoak. It's been growing pretty crazy for me. I'm pretty happy about it. This is a Bretonia Shelob Tolkien. I get you guys a view of these flowers, which are quite stunning. They smell really nice. They smell like a jasmine tea, which I really enjoy myself. There's an epiphyllum up here. Can't tell you exactly what type of epiphyllum it is, but it's doing fine. I barely get up there and water it. I probably water it like every 3 months. Then there is a Hoya Kentiana variegata, or maybe Hoya Weyedii variegata, but it was sold to me as Hoya Kentiana variegata. And then another Hoya, this is Hoya Macrophylla albo marginata. Really hard to see, but I have another one that I'll show you later on that you will get a better look at. So down in the window, this is a Thematophyllum bipinnatophytum, which is clearly just taking over the entirety of the window, which I absolutely love because I just don't need to buy curtains. This is a Monstera siltepecana, and it's just been going all over the place. It's going up and around, and if I'm sure I can find at least one leaf that has a nice split or window fenestration in the leaf. Sorry about the sound outside, but two, sorry I can't get it to focus. But you can see right here that there's a hole in the leaf, so it's grown quite a bit, and it's telling me that I'm doing something for it apparently that it must be happy about. So, and then this is a Sansevieria hollii, and then another Cissus rotundifolia back here. Then this guy is a Peperomia incana, if it would like to focus. Then we have an Anthurium pedatoradiatum. There is an Asparagus retrofractus back there. And then this is Euphorbia, I think it's Geroldii. It's the thornless crown of thorns. This is probably the only like toxic, really toxic plant that I have in my home, since I do have cats, but it's really tucked in this window. There's no way they can get to it. And an aloe vera. It's also a mother of thousands that I need to get rid of that is starting to really become a weed in the pot. And then a Ficus elastica ruby. If I move this pot, you can see the lovely red foliage in the top half of the plant. It's quite lovely. There is a Peperomia caparata burgundy ripple, I think. And here's another Philodendron tripartitum. A little wonky. Then Syngonium, just a cutting of the Syngonium, I forget the name of it, like something mottled or splash, or I don't know. And hiding down here, inside there is a Tradescantia fluminensis, but that's just not going to focus on that. This is a Ficus olei gold. Okay, so let's get out of the windowsill because, as you can tell, it's really hard to film inside these messes. And everything just goes blurry, and it's really just not my cup of tea. Okay, so over here inside the front of the display is a Philodendron pedatum. And then there is the Syngonium macrophyllum. And then down here, there is a Syndapsis trubii, dark form. And over here is a Peperomia trinervis. Then a Peperomia orba variegata. This is a Syngonium, Syngonium podophyllum albo variegatum. Some really nice, beautiful variegation to this plant that I'm quite fond of. Then there is a Philodendron, I think this is Jose Boano. A lot of leaves on it, but the new ones, they're coming in a little wimpy, so I think I'm going to have to go and give this one a little chop, I would say, probably right below here. Maybe I could try propagating this top, but I think I'm more dead set on getting some nice larger leaves on this plant, and it's just not giving me that at the moment. And then down here is a Peperomia perescii. Nice peperomia that I don't see that often. And then there is a Hoya abavata down here. And then below it, I just have a couple more hiding. Once again, this is a little bit of like I don't have a space for this. This was a Peperomia nummularia folia. I mean, there is still some of it, but I moved it away from a prior space, and clearly it wasn't happy about that. So just ignore that one. This is, I forget the name of this one. I think it's Ripsalis. It was sold to me as Ripsalis bicod, but I think it has another name. And then a Sansevieria kirkii, copper tone. And then a Sansevieria trifasciata Honii white streak, I believe this one is called. So that is this window and this little setup right here that I have going on. But we're not going to move far because I have my desk right here. So on the desk I have this Tillandsia Reichenbachii. And then this is a Hoya fungii. Kind of fuzzy. I like it. Hoya pubicalyx splash. Nice splashy leaves. And then another Hoya carnosa crimson queen. This is a Philodendron mexicanum. I think you could probably see some of the leaves earlier. They're quite funky. And then there's a Hoya iris marie that is also kind of working its way over into this window. Pretty far, actually. It's really working its way in there. So maybe I'll propagate that one soon. And then there's a Rhaphidophora heyi back there. This is a Monstera adansonii growing up the moss pole. It's outgrown it at this point. But it is just going to live on that plant, that pole, because there's nothing else I can really do with this thing. And there's another Epipremnum pineatum Cebu blue behind the computer, as well as a Sansevieria trifasciata black coral. Then there is an Epipremnum aureum mangula. And then another Aeschylanthus longicalis, or the black pagoda lipstick plant. This is a Hoya affinity to Bertoniae. It's a long mouthful. And then I have another Hoya crinkle 8, or Hoya carnosa crinkle 8 up here. Alrighty, so let's just get that focused. Okay, so let's move on to this window over here. I do have a Zamioculcas zamiifolia on the table right here. And inside the shelf, this is a resurrection plant, Rose of Jericho. And then an Aglaonema commutatum silver queen. And this is just a cutting I have of my begonia, my special angel, which is actually outside right now. I move all my begonias, well, most of them, all my cane begonias, I move outside for the summertime. So you will actually not be seeing them in this video. I'm so sorry. But this is an Epiperonum aureum, just your standard golden pothos. And then Maranta leucanura kirchoviana, which is just a green prayer plant. There is some philodendron lemon lime trailing down the side of the shelf here. And then another species, Aglaonema commutatum. Up top, there is a ZZ plant back there, but there is also this philodendron imperial red, as well as this philodendron brantianum, which is a little difficult to see. And then in this beautiful pot, I have this Tradescantia scyllamontana, and another Tradescantia right next to it. This is Tradescantia pallida, which I think they call the purple heart plant. Normally an outdoor plant, but it does do pretty well inside. And there is a Pellionia repens right there in the ceramic wall pocket. And on the side of this shelf here is a Tillandsia funkiana. Here is another Peperomia tetragona. And then there's another Peperomia kimnachii right here. Selenicerius chrysocardium. I think we're going to have another issue with the rickrat cactus that we had before with the lighting here. But yeah, you can kind of see. And then there's a Dischidia, another Dischidia oeantha hanging up there. Peperomia polybatria. I have another one of these. And there is some Peperomia prostrata also growing inside this pot, which is quite lovely. I'm a really big fan of this plant. Okay, so in the window here, let me just step back so you guys can also get a nice view. Obviously, we're very on brand with the blur right now. So here we go. That's what this window is looking like. So inside the window, this is my Monstera deliciosa, variegated, undescribed. Just, you know, get some like lime green, kind of like just like light green variegation. So it's a little bit different than like the aria or the marmorata they sometimes call it, which is like the lemon variegation. So it's a little different than that. And then Epiphyllum ackermanii. This is Sansevieria cylindrica bonkel, Sansevieria trifasciata gold flame. You can see that pretty interesting variegation for as far as Sansevierias go. Sansevieria trifasciata bantel sensation, quite lovely as well. There is a Hoya pubicalyx, pink silver. And this is my Syngonium chiapense right here. Really lovely. It's kind of working its way over into the window, blocking some of my plants. So there's another Sansevieria Kirkii coppertone down there. And then my Pilea peperomioides. I think everyone else's Pilea peperomioides looks better than mine. This is a Peperomia elongata. And then a Peperomia presciifolia. Really like this one. Hoya numelarioides. I think that's it. Numelarioides? Yeah. Hoya numelarioides. And then this is Schefflera actinophila dazzle. Directly next to that, moving over to this little plant stand, we have this Monstera Peru. And there is a Hoya retusa, an Apicia cupreata. And then I do have another one of these species, Aglaonema commutatums. This plant I keep moving out of the way is a Thematophyllum sprucianum. Then very similar looking is the Schefflera actinophila amate. I do have this little terrarium hiding back here, which has some Pellionia, I think it's Repens pulchra, and some Asparagus meyeri, which is foxtail fern. And then I have my trellis growing up here. Sorry, I'm like reaching around this plant. This is just some Epiperonum aureum or golden pothos. And before I forget, I do have this rather large hanging Tetrastigma voynerianum, which has kind of worked its way into the window, which I think they commonly call chestnut vine. And down here we have Muffin. A little less needy this time around, which I really appreciate. Thank you, Sweet Pea. Okay, so this is my Natal mahogany. A really great statement plant for the home. Then there's me. Hi, everybody. Okay, so then I have my plant corner right here. This is a Calathea orbifolia. Then I have my
Aglaonema Red Emerald. I really love this Aglaonema. It's very beautiful and it's very easy to grow. There's some type of Syngonium down here. It's kind of, trailing about. It's always been a mystery for me, and it's kind of fun that way, Then a Philodendron Black Cardinal, one of the hybrids. This is a Homalomena Emerald Gem. Then there is another Hoya carnosa compacted. This one's really compacted. And then a standard Hoya carnosa, which I think is just so lovely. I think it doesn't get enough love. This is an Aglaonema Wintry Winehouse or Aglaonema Spring Snow. There's so many names for these. And then I have my Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, which is growing up this trellis right here. And it's been doing so well, and I have to attribute how well it's been doing to my Soltech Solutions light, which is this light right here, and I'll leave a discount code on screen, my Philly Foliage 15, to get you 15% off your purchase on one of these, and I highly recommend it because they've really done my plants some good. Was just waiting for this very well-timed Sirens to finish up, but now we have this lovely Monstera Deliciosa Albo Variegata, which just put off its first leaf with a split for me, which is very exciting. And there's an Anthurium Superbum right next to that, very prehistoric looking plant. This is a Hoya Ban Nyang Nyoi. And then I have my Philodendron Arubicins Pink Princess, which has done a lot for me this year. I think it actually looks quite lovely. You can see a new leaf coming in right here, but had this one for a couple of years, and it's really put out a lot of growth for me this year. And then I have this Philodendron Burl Marks Fantasy. And then this is Amydrium Zippelianum, growing up the trellis. Really getting comfortable in my home. And then I have a Philodendron Mayoi right here, another one of them. I really enjoy this plant. And let's work our way over. We have this Philodendron Squamiferum right here with the lovely fuzzy petioles. I think it's like the most incredible thing about this plant. It's just so lovely. And then I have, oh, hello again, guys. This Monstera Sultipacana right here. Let's get that in focus. Okay, really beautiful Monstera Sultipacana. This is a Discidia oeantha again, I believe. I think they called this one like the green cascade Discidia. Moving into the window, which I will just back up so you guys can once again get a better view of this window. We have in the bottom right corner here this Sansevieria Trifasciata Golden Honii, and then a Pilea repens. This is a Plectranthus ernstii. And then a Hoya carrii once again. Then down here is a Hoya Crinkles Tinkles, which you can't really see, but it just kind of looks like a Hoya carnosa. And then a PEPEROMIA glabella. There's a little baby Philodendron Pink Princess in here, but it doesn't really have much variegation right now. And that's sitting inside a pot of Ficus Audrey, which is getting so rudely blocked by this Peperomia boivinii right here, which we'll just take a pit stop to, I guess. Looks very similar to Peperomia Hope, but it is a little bit like bluer, silverer in color. I'm just working our way back down real quick before I forget. It says Ficus elastica taniki. This is a Hoya australis right here. There's a lot of activity going on outside today. I think they know I'm doing something in here. A lot of growth on this Hoya australis since I've gotten it. And then this is another type of epiphyllum right here. I'm not positive on the name of this guy right here. And then another Hoya macrophylla albomarginata. Moving up into this window, I have a Peperomia quadrangularis, and it's just getting blocked out by some of my other plants. How rude. Love to get you guys a better view of this plant, but it's just not going to happen. So I also have this Nematanthus champagne jam right here. Got some really lovely red undersides to the leaves. And then a Cissus adenopoda, which also has some really lovely red undersides to the leaves, as you can see from the way it's just like glowing in the light. It's a very like autumn-inspired houseplant, so I'm a really big fan of it. And then this is, of course, going to be really hard to get you to see, but this is a Cissus quadrangularis. And I don't think there's a single leaf on this plant, but it's really all about these funky cucumbery stems, which of course aren't really gonna translate very well, but you know what, they're pretty funky. So then I have this Syndapsis pictus silvery Ann growing all around my ceiling, going all the way over there. So I'm a really big fan of this. Okay, Oh, and there's a couple more. So this is a Tillandsia aranthos. There's a Ripsalis elliptica right there, which could probably use a new pot at this point. And a Peperomia red Ecuador, which is down here. Let me pull it over for you guys to see. But I don't think I give it enough light. Of course, it's not going to focus, but I don't think I give it enough attention. So boo-hoo. Okay, so we're going to move over to, I think this is the last area we have to do. So this is my bar cart. It used to be the bar cart when we moved in. It's become the garden cart, and now it has a microwave on it. So there's just, you know, it's a very ambiguous area, which is probably the next area in my home that I would love to redo because I'm not very happy with it, if we're being honest. But this is a Sansevieria cylindrica. I forget the variety. Maybe it's just a normal Sansevieria cylindrica. I don't know. This is a Tenanthe amigris. So got some nice purple color on the back. Very easy plant. Great for dark corners, I promise you. This is a Stromanthe sanguinea. And then I have this little Nicholas diamond fern right here. Peperomia scandens. And then there is a Philodendron haustatum back here, but I think it's not doing too hot from the look of this leaf. So maybe we gotta, you know, pay a little mind to that after we're done filming. This is a Hoya pubicalyx splash. And I have a Philodendron Bloody Mary. Then there is a Peperomia, another Peperomia scan. This is kind of a fun sport that I'm growing of it. And then I have this Syngonium erythrophyllum Yanocorti Road, which I really enjoy growing very close by to that Philodendron Bloody Mary because I think the leaves just look so similar. But this one has a wine red leaf on the back, as you can see. It's very, very striking. Like very, very striking. A really wonderful plant. I don't think it gets enough attention. This is Schefflera actinophila nova. And then that plant back here is a Rhaphidophora decursiva. I have growing under the light here, this is a Dischidia nummularia variegata. And then this is a Hoya motoskii. Got some nice new growth on it. I'm excited about that. And then on the plant stand here, this is my Monstera Peru, the one I have growing up the moss pole, as well as a moss pole of Syndapsis trubii Moonlight. This is Monstera adansonii. This is the wide form. The first one I showed you guys was the narrow form. And then I do have a Sansevieria TRIFASCIATA LAURENTII down here, just trying to block the view of whatever is going on back there. This is a Philodendron Burl Marx. And then a Hoya pubicalyx. I think this one is the Royal Hawaiian Purple. This is a Peperomia scandens right here. I feel like it's probably not pertinent, but these pot figures are not mine. They're my roommates. I can't really stand them, but just want to point that out to you guys. This, what's left of our bar area, is a Sansevieria, another Sansevieria fernwood. And then there's a Sansevieria moonshine up there before I forget. Then this is a Syndapsis pictus exotica. This was the first plant I ever bought from Urban Jungle when I started working there, so it's very special to me. And a Pipronum aureum, just your standard jade pothos. And I think we're finishing off today's tour with this kind of sad looking Zamioculcas zammiifolia zamicro. So it's just the smaller version of the ZZ plant. So it's a great plant for a dark corner, which obviously this is probably the darkest corner I have in my home. So yeah, I think that's every single plant that we had to go over today. I'm just gonna give you guys a back up and show you guys a little bit more of a clearer photo of my living room. Of course, it's blurry, but yeah, this is where I live.
Thank you all so much for joining me today. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for sticking through it. I know this is a long video, but I am just happy I'm finally able to get this all in one long video. And it's much more raw footage, let's say, than my typical YouTube videos. Not very good on that side of the camera. It's a lot more lip smacking and some finger dips here and there. I do apologize, but I just love sharing my plants with you guys, and that's why I do all that I do. So thank you guys again so much for joining me today. If you don't already, follow me on Instagram at Philly Foliage, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video. Have a great day.